Okay, let's talk about how to move the slides in order on a presentation, and also how to align text boxes, objects. So if I have a slide here, as I'm proceeding through this, I decide that I really want an introduction to the level of education on my slides. So remember, I have one here, how career certificates, one with associate's degree, one with bachelor's degree. And then I have this weird slide here about the accounting cycle. Well, that really doesn't fit in order here. I can do this one of two ways. I can click on a slide here and I can drag it around and I can put this up here where I want it. Before what was slide 3. Or what I can do is over here in the slide sorter view, down here I can pick up the slide sorter view and I can look at these slides here. I have the title slide, then an introduction. Now I have the levels of education: certificate, associate's degree, bachelor's degree. Well, I don't know about you, but I think this slide needs to go to the end. So I'm going to left click on it, drag it. It's now at the end. And that's a better order for my slides. So I can see right here on these slides, on the slide sorter view, much easier way to move them around. Now let's go back over here to this slide, and I have my level of education here. I've got it on the level of education. What I really want is I want it centered, and I've pretty well drug it over there, but I want to show you something here. If I right click on this slide and I go down here to grids and guides, I can turn on a grid, or I can turn on the guides. I'm going to turn on the guides first, and I'm going to show you what that is. So the guides are the halfway point, vertically and horizontally. If I click on that, see it's set at 0 inches. If I drag this over and I keep going over, this is 2 inches to the right of center. Okay, so I'm going to drag this back. You do the same thing on this one. And I can go down here wherever I want it. Say I want it 3 inches below center. Wherever it is that you want your guides. There is another way too. If I display grids, turn off the guides, display grids, and see these are 1-inch squares. So I can figure that I want this over here. Say I want this right at the 3.5 point, the 3.5 inches over. So that's all I would have to do and that's pretty much centered. I've got 1, 2, 3, just about 3.5 on either side. So I can move it over here however I want and adjust the location of it. You can leave these grids on. They will not show on your presentation. Or you can go back here to grids and guides and turn them off. So now I've got them off. That's one way to align text. If you want to align text another way, my first suggestion is any of these objects, remove extra space on them. So that if you want to center them, if you go to align them, you're going to have problems on each of them because they're also aligning the excess space. Okay, that's not right there. Okay, so I also have an extra line here, an extra space, making that 2 lines. So now I'm going to select all 3 of these items, and when you do, you get a new toolbar up here that is the, let me see, okay, it's the drawing toolbar. So on that drawing toolbar, I can go over here to align. I can say align to the left. See how they all moved over? Now, understand, if you want to change that alignment, you have to undo the alignment that you just set, unless you want 2 types of alignment. I can align them to the center. I can also, now that I have them aligned, I can distribute them horizontally. I can also distribute them vertically. You see how there's even space between them? And I can do other things. I can align them to the middle. Of course, you see what happens? They all align on top of each other. So that is your alignment. Once you have them aligned the way you want, I would suggest that you scoot over one tab here and look at this group. I can group these 3 items, and now when I go to move them around, I'm moving around one group. Instead of having, if I did not have them grouped, if I wanted to move them, I would have to move this one, then I would have to move this one, and they're always, I'm not getting them moved the way that I want them. So if I group them, it works very nicely. This way too, I can put a border on them. I can also go back and ungroup them if I don't want them grouped later on. So you can make changes to it, whatever you want. Okay, so there we go on moving slides and grouping.